Hello, everyone. Welcome to With Heart and Soul podcast, episode 2. This podcast will be discussing relationships, and you're listening to your hosts, David and Jacky. Hi, David.
Hey.
So, as always, let's begin with you telling us about your week.
My week has been busy, very, very busy, just trying to complete a couple projects, working on my coaching page. What else I've been doing? Just making sure that I have time to relax, because it's funny because as we talked about last week, that fall is like my favorite season, but it tends to get very busy. So just yesterday I was with the youth, like the young people and teenagers of my church, and we went to this place called Main Event, which is like an arcade slash bowling alley slash laser type place. So we were there yesterday and we had a lot of fun. We definitely had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, not everybody was able to show up, but we had a good number, at least maybe 9, 8 people. So that was definitely fun. And then today, just working on, a couple things, personal, I would say house stuff. I'll put it that way. But yeah, that's pretty much my week. How was yours?
Okay, first of all, that does sound super fun. And I think you're a really good role model for young people. So that's cool.
Thank you.
But yeah, I didn't actually have the best week as I think, talked a few times and touched base throughout the week.
Mhm.
I was struggling with my mental health a little bit, and I did see my therapist this week, so that was nice. But I've just been working through issues within my relationship and also just trying to work on setting my boundaries with people because that's something that's really hard for me. So those were some of my challenges this week, like knowing how I want to show up in the world and setting my boundaries and making sure that people are respecting me just as much as I respect them.
I like that. I like that. I like that. Working on yourself, and it's good because we did talk about this a little bit earlier this week that sometimes it's not always easy. You don't always have those good days all the time. But I think the biggest thing, as you said, is like, what are you gonna do when you don't have those good days? Are you just gonna let that day affect your whole week, or are you gonna work on it to try to make it a better week than it was when it first started? So it's like that. Very
Yeah,
proud of you. Very proud of you.
thanks. I have a really hard time turning my days around. Like if something bad happens or if I get into a disagreement with Jacky or my kids upset me or something like that, it gets really hard for me to change my day around. Like I allow that to be the rest of my day and I sulk in it. And I'm really just getting tired of my own shit when it comes to that. I can't just keep laying in bed all the time just because things went wrong. So I call this bounce back time, where you bounce back from a fight you had with someone, with your partner
Yeah.
mostly, and you just try to push past the fight and try to have a good day anyway. And you guys can talk it out, work it out, and turn the day around. So yesterday I had an event for my t-shirt business. It's called Where We Land, which you know about. So we had an event there, and we came back home, and Jacky and I got into a disagreement. Then I got upset with my sister, so it was like two things in a row, and I just wanted to cancel the party and everything. And my friend Sonia, who was going to make homemade hummus, she was all ready to come over. She lives like an hour away, and she was so excited to hang out with us. And I just wanted to cancel the whole thing and just sulk and be upset and just cry. But I just was like, you know what? Number one, my friend doesn't deserve that. She made this hummus.
Yeah.
So I want her to come over. I want to have a good time. I'm not ruining my Saturday night over this. So I just bounce back.
I mean, I'm glad that you're able to like you said, bounce back from that because,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, it could have messed up the whole day, and then you had a whole party, and even if you did show up at the party, it's kind of like your energy would have been off, and everybody would have been looking at you like, oh, like is this
Mm-hmm.
a party or are we just gonna sit here looking crazy? So, but yeah, I agree. I mean, I love the aspect that you said about when you do have argument with your significant other. Same thing with me. Like whenever I have an argument with my wife, sometimes, you might think you're right, or The other person might think they're right, but I think the biggest thing about it is that as long as you guys are able to have a conversation about it, nobody talking over each other, nobody yelling at each other, like, okay, you have your way of thinking, I have my way of thinking. Let's talk about it instead of us saying that, oh, I'm always right or that person's always right. So I agree.
Yeah. So we did end up having the party. Sonia came over, and our other friend Ashley came over. We had so much fun. We had a bonfire. I had 2 beers, 2 shots of whiskey. Um, so today I spent the day laying down. I literally just got out of the shower. My hair is still wet. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that I worked on my bounce back time and that I didn't allow those things to ruin my whole day, because I'm just trying to appreciate my days more.
Mhm.
I've in the past, I've laid in bed for an entire day without drinking or eating, and the sun was out and it was beautiful out, and I just laid there sulking. So I just don't want to do that anymore. So I'm proud of myself too.
Yeah, yeah, I love the growth because it's like it's easy to say that I'm just gonna keep doing what I want to do, and it takes a lot of more effort to say no. I have to change this because I want better results in my day. I want a better day, things of that nature. So I said I commend you for that. Definitely do. Um, and then so today, I know we wanted to talk more about ourselves. I think that's a, we gotta let the audience know who we are and why this podcast is gonna be so awesome. And why relationships? I think that's the biggest thing, like why relationships. So for me, the reason why I got into like relationships and becoming a relationship coach is because I didn't know how to deal with grief. And I got my master's in counseling. I did a lot of time having experience at mental health facilities and psychiatric facilities and learning about all these mental disorders. But when it came to myself, I kind of had like I would say like a shield around me that, my friends and my wife, and I think I've said it in plenty of my coaching videos that they thought I was always optimistic about everything. But growing up, I learned that I had to be optimistic about everything because I didn't want to deal with the other issues. And the other issues, I mean, like the death of my mother when I was young and my older brother, a lot of family issues and things of that nature. So I had to put up a facade, I put up a mask about like, oh, well, everything's good. Everything's great. Everything is all right. But I had a coach when I started doing coaching stuff after I got my master's, and he was telling me like, it's okay to feel. It's okay to feel the things you want to feel. Like it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel like you're not happy all the time because it shows the authentic you. And once I got into that and I started working on like, dang, I'm like, this is like my mid-20s. So I was like, I'm in my mid-20s and my mom died when I was 10. So it was like 15 years of me not completely letting go of the grief or dealing with the grief or actually going through the process of recovering from grief. And I'm like, okay, I can't be the same person. I can't be the only person that's dealing with this stuff. I can't be the only person that's in a sense mentally and inside suffering, but at outside you thinking like, oh, this person is good. This person is contacting people. This person is seeing how they're doing. This person is calling people and make sure they're okay. But deep down, it's kind of like I'm calling them to make sure nothing bad's happening to them because I don't want to go through that same issue again. So when I got to the relationship aspect, it was kind of like, well, I want to be happy and I have to learn that happiness comes from the inside and I can't depend on other people to make me happy. Of course, I had to go through a lot of trial and errors, a lot of situations, but it made me realize that, hey, as long as I'm able to define my happiness, as long as I'm working to love myself more, I'll be able to have the relationship that I want. I'll be able to have those friendships that I want. I'll be able to have those things that I want. And I was like, okay, me going through this and healing is beautiful, but something in me is like, well, there's something more you need to do. You have a bigger purpose. And I always knew since I was young that I always loved helping people. I got a joy from it. I got some type of satisfaction from it. And once I was able to hone on to it and like, okay, your purpose is to help people, but what else? What else can you do with it? And I was like, you know what? Let me create a business where I can literally be a person that takes the effort to help people, whether it's free, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through casual conversations that we're doing now. And then boom, that's how I got to that point. I know I jumped a lot of places through the timelines, but that's basically what got me into the whole relationship work. So.
Well, that was a really nice story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're basically what you're saying is if you're authentically yourself, your relationships will thrive. You'll have better relationships with people when you're more in touch with your emotions and who you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's an important lesson that a lot of people have to learn. But also, before you told your story, I really wanted to share with our listeners how we met. So I know that you met my fiance first,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really know the story because I wrote it on Instagram and she told me it was wrong. So
so you want the story of like how I met your fiance?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I don't want to drag it on too long, but to put it real simply, so I am a relationship coach, as you know, but also my 9 to 5. I do clinical research. So basically, I travel all over the country, being like the middleman between the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors and clinics and hospitals, things of that nature. So I have to travel a lot to talk to the doctors and stuff, just to make sure like the study trials that's going on, that they are doing the right things. They're doing things ethically, they're not hurting anybody and things of that nature. So I had to go to Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's where you guys live. So I missed my first flight because something happened where I got to the airport late. So I had to take a late flight. And when I got to the late flight, it was Jacky and her twin sister. They were coming. They were on a high. They were high energy, and they're coming from a bridesmaid party from Tennessee, and they sat with me. And they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" They were asking all the questions. I was like, "It's late. I'm just trying to relax." But they were like, "Oh, talk to us." I was like, "Okay, fine." So I told them what I did, because I like to tell people that I'm a relationship coach before the other job, because that's the thing that I'm actually passionate about. The other one is just for money at the end of the day. So so I told my relationship coach, and Jacky was like, "Oh yeah, I got relationship things and stuff. So tell me more about it, and things of that nature." So we were talking, and it was funny enough because she was sitting right next to me, but because it was an empty seat, so we thought that the person wasn't coming, so she sat next to me, but the person did come. So we had to we were talking, but we had to cut the conversation short. So after the flight landed, I met up with them, and I said, "Hey, give me your number, we'll talk more." And we were texting and things of that nature. And then we talked about relationship stuff. And I wanted her to initially be a client, but I realized that she really knew what she wanted in a relationship. So it wasn't like I can do anything. And I'm big on like that. I'm like, I don't want to take your money, or I don't want to do something for you where you don't need my help. So so we kept in touch. Even after that, we became friends. And she was the person that helped me. She's a graphic designer. So she's an amazing graphic designer. She helped me build my website, which is amazing, at yourcollabcoach.com. Then when it came to you, I'm doing, like, for my coaching page, I tend to do like conversational pieces with different people, just talking about different things about relationships that speak to them. And I was doing a second round of that, like 12 new people. The first time I did 12 people, second time I did 12 people. So I asked her, I was like, "Hey, do you want to do a conversation with me?" She was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay, well." Okay. She's like, "But my fiance might want to do it. She likes talking about relationship stuff." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So she gave me, no, she gave you my number, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, and then you like, "Hey, can we talk?" So we talked for like a whole hour. She was like, "I don't want to do this video with you if I don't know who you are." I was like, "Okay, that's fine. We can go and talk a little bit. That's not a problem." So we talked, and then we just clicked. We both had the same mindset about relationships, and we were like, "Okay." So we did the video that's coming out next December. It's gonna come out December. And then that was like your first video. like, no, you did a previous thing with a friend at a podcast, but you didn't like it. So you're kind of apprehensive about this one, but it turned out great. We had a great conversation. And that's when you told me that, hey, I always wanted to do stuff like this. I always wanted to do a podcast, but I never got it started. And I was like, wow. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Because I had a friend that told me last year, he said, oh, well, I see you doing podcasts. I had a dream that you were doing a podcast. I was like, podcasts are a lot of work. I didn't feel like doing it. And then boom, this year came. I met someone that was interested to do a podcast. I was like, let's do a podcast. You're a wonderful fiance, did the logo. We got it started. And now we're on episode 2. So
Yeah, so thank you to Jacky and shout out to her for connecting us and for making our logo and supporting us so much along the way. Good thing she's annoying and talks to everybody she sees, right? And I've been knowing that you exist because you guys speak a lot. So I've always known who you are and I follow you on social media and everything like that. And your coaching videos on YouTube definitely have helped me in the past during difficult times. It's always good to listen to things when you're having a tough time, and then when you're feeling better, you kind of like fall off and don't listen to certain things. So that's okay.
Mhm.
We definitely don't expect our listeners to need our podcast all the time, and that's great because that means you're feeling better.
Yeah,
But if you just like to listen to us chit chat, then be our guest.
exactly.
uh, but yeah, so I guess I should talk more about what makes me passionate about this.
Yeah,
So,
because I jumped the gun. So now it's your turn.
oh, you're good. I asked you questions, and my brain is working a little bit slow today because, last night I didn't know how to act. So,
Mhm.
I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
You're doing a great
Uh,
job. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I even was like, I'm not going to take it too far tonight because I'm very passionate about the podcast and I take it seriously. And I wanted to be here and show up and be my best self. So I actually didn't drink too much. But yeah, I stayed up late. We were up till like 1 a.m.
Hmm.
So yeah, I do have an Instagram as well that is public and that anyone may follow. And that Instagram is in our description, correct?
Yes, it is.
As well as David's personal Instagram and the With Heart and Soul Instagram. So feel free
Yes.
to follow us over there because if you need any type of a help with your relationships or thinking deeply and being a more conscious thinker, I think either one of our content will assist you with that.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I went through a very traumatic and toxic relationship,
Hmm.
and it ended about 4 years ago. And once that relationship was over, I felt very lost with myself, and I didn't know what to do with my life. Ever since I was a child, I just wanted to get married and have children, and for me, that was my ultimate life goal. And I had achieved that, and my marriage ended. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I wanted. I no longer knew what my purpose was. I do not want any more children. So I just didn't know what to do. I was very lonely. I don't really have family that supports me. I don't have friends that I'm very close to or anything like that. I just felt very alone and suicidal. So I pretty much was just like, I'm not gonna commit suicide. Let me just be real with myself. Like, I think about it every day, but I'm not gonna do it because I'm just not. I'm scared. So I decided to help myself. I really wanted a therapist, but I couldn't afford it. So I decided to try to help myself. I'm not entirely sure how I came across podcasts as a way to help myself, but I just was like, every day I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to go on a long walk. I'm just going to be alone with myself and nature. And I found a podcast to play for myself while I would go on these walks. And it was actually a podcast where the host was emotionally abusive to his wife, and he has changed and he's a different person now, and now he uses his platform to help other people within their relationships. And that would be all types of relationships, like with your parents, coworkers, the same type of thing we're doing. um, so that podcast pretty much transformed my life. and I feel like I experienced what I call a spiritual awakening. And I changed my entire life and I found what my purpose was. And my purpose was to convert my pain into helping others. Um, I don't want anyone to feel as alone as I felt in those times. And I don't want someone else to have to search so hard to find their reason for staying with us and finding a purpose within themselves. So that is why I created my Instagram, where I write about relationships and I focus more on abusive relationships in a male to female dynamic.
That's powerful. That's powerful. For speak about bounce back. Like literally, you were at the point where a relationship was over with their husband, and then you literally was like, you had suicidal thoughts, and I'm thank God that you didn't take that initiative and the plan to do it, and you were able to transform your life doing that. Like, and now you're trying to help people. Like, you are helping people. You
Yeah.
are helping people with the similar situation or just relationships in in entirety. So that's a beautiful story. That is. I guess the question for you I had to ask you, I don't think I ever asked you this, is like, what made you say enough? Like, when was the because sometimes in like abusive situations, you're so used to the abuse. It's definitely stuff that I study. Like, you're so used to the abuse that you think like the abuse is normal.
Mhm.
So what was that moment you were like, you know what, I can't take this anymore?
At first I did think it was normal, but as the years started to go on, I really just started to lose myself more and more. And even though I would say, looking back, I was an unconscious person living an unconscious life,
Yeah.
I still knew that something was off. And I think I just started to progressively hate my life more and more.
Mhm.
Um, I was just tired of being heartbroken, and I was just I just didn't want that for my children. I just started to hate every aspect of what we were being subjected to, and I didn't feel like we deserved that. But what actually did it for me was I went to go see a therapist, and I did pay for that out of pocket because that's how our healthcare system is. But I did go see a therapist and I talked about my relationship, and she just said, "You're being emotionally abused." So that pretty much changed everything for me because I had no idea that there was a term for what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And once I knew that it was abuse, I just felt so many things. I felt like a victim. I felt sorry for myself. I felt a lot of pity and a lot of shame for putting up with that. But I now know that none of that was my fault. I didn't know any better, and I couldn't have done any better with what I did not know. So that's another reason why I'm passionate on sharing what emotional abuse is, because not enough people know what it is. And if there's no name to what you're going through, then you do not know that you need to get out.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. Definitely well said. And I'm glad that I was able to meet you, especially on this journey, because it's like just us working together, and we both have two different, complete different stories, hence in our description. But but
Right.
we're able to actually have a lot of common similarities, because as you're telling your story, it's kind of like, for me, it's like, I know I didn't go through an abusive situation or anything like that, but when you have that moment, and that moment where you live in a certain way of living and you think that it's okay, and then you get to the point where it's like, no, there are other options out there, there are other ways to live. You don't have to succumb to just this one way of living, where you have
Mhm.
so much within you and so much power within you to do whatever you want, instead of what other people say you should do, or how other people say you should act, and just living your life the best way you can on your terms. And I think that's powerful.
That's right. I completely agree with that, that it's important to realize that you do not have to live the way that you are living. If you are unhappy with your life, you have the power to change anything you want. It is your story. You're the main character. So you can remove anyone that you want. And I think that I didn't realize that. You do not have to deal with people. Loving people does not mean tolerating the intolerable. It just doesn't. So it's important to realize, like, I'm in control of my life. If I don't like my job, I can seek a new one. If I have a dream life, I can chase after it. If I don't like my partner, I don't have to be with them. If my mother treats me badly, I don't need to speak to her. You have a choice in the matter. You really do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, so what about my story did you ever have questions on? I know I've been told that I don't talk about myself a lot, but so what are some things about my story that you have questions about?
I actually feel like it's becoming more apparent to me what your story was, where when I first met you, it really wasn't. And I did watch your content and everything on YouTube, but I still was wondering, like, what led him here, because I'm starting to notice that therapists and healers and coaches, they don't know more than us. They are going through it themselves. They just have the tools necessary to help us and articulate what it is you need to do to help yourself. But it's important for everyone to realize that coaches, therapists, healers of all kind, they have been through exactly what they're trying to help you with.
Mhm.
So since you focus on relationships, I just was always wondering, like, what about your relationships? Like, what is it that you went through? Because I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And I knew that you lost your brother and your mother,
Mhm.
but I didn't know how that tied into the whole relationship aspect of your life. Um, and I feel like you explained it very well in your recent childhood trauma video,
Mhm.
where I feel like what you were saying was that you became a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think, sometimes like when you have that caregiver nature, like you want to take care of everybody, um, it's easier to care about other people and focus your energy on other people rather than focusing and doing the work to heal within yourself. And that took me a long time to realize that, because I thought because I was talking to people, I was making sure people were okay, I was communicating with people and making sure everybody around me was happy in a sense, quote unquote. I thought that that was good, but I realized that that wasn't good enough, because it's one thing to say that, oh, you care about people, but it's another thing to say that you care about yourself. And if I'm not living my life, and this goes for anybody listening and watching this, like if you're living your life and you, at the end of the day, you're not happy, you're not satisfied with yourself, then that means that you didn't do enough work today to get that energy recharge, to get that happiness, to get that joy that you've been looking for on a day-to-day basis. And as we talked about, not every day is going to be the most spectacular day ever, but at least you can go to sleep at night saying that, hey, I do love myself. Hey, I do care about myself. And it got to the point where I didn't even know what it meant to love me. And I didn't even know what it meant to say that I care about myself, because I was so focused on other people, until I went to grad school and I went to the coaching, my 6-month coaching certificate to get the certification. And I got a coach because they told us that if you're going to be a coach, you have to have a coach at least for X amount of period. That way, just like a therapist, like if you're going to be a therapist, you need a therapist, because you can't go out there into the field and help people and you're taking all their emotions onto you, all the things that's happening to those people, and putting it on yourself where you're not releasing it either, and talking to somebody about it. So I went to the coach and he was like, he was literally telling me like, do you actually take time for yourself? And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I'm helping other people. Like, what's wrong with that? They're like, no, are you taking time for yourself? Like, are you actually um, doing things that make you happy? Are you actually starting the journey to love yourself? And it wasn't until I actually learned what loving myself meant, I didn't even know what it was. And I'm over here saying I want to help people and I'm helping people, but I can't describe the type of love that I need in a relationship. I can't
Mhm.
describe the type of love that I'm looking for from other people. I can't describe like, hey, I don't like this, or I don't want this to happen, because I was just like focused on, well, if they're happy, I'm happy. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, but that's not really how you should live your life all the time. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with helping people, caring about people, loving people, but at least there has to be some type of balance, because you're putting all the energy helping people, and then you're gonna get to the point where you're drained and you don't have enough time for yourself. So I had to learn a couple things. One thing I learned was just saying no. I think I didn't take advantage of the power of no, because the power of no allows you to care about yourself and and take the time for yourself. And another thing I learned was loving myself and what type of love I was looking for. So I read the famous book, Gary Chapman's Five Love Languages. And I learned that touch was like a big thing for me, not sexually, but just cuddling and holding hands and things of that nature. Like I really enjoy that. So that, and then quality time, that was my second one. Just spending time with someone, having a conversation with someone. Those are things that recharge me. Those are the things that gives me the energy that I need from love. And that's what I want from people that I say that I want to be in a relationship with. So once I learned those two things, I think that started my love journey. And I was able to talk about all the things that I talk about now, because of things like death and things of that nature. It was, as you said, oh, you never really talk about yourself. I felt like it wasn't important to talk about, until I realized that, hey, I need to talk about these things because it's going to free up space within me to love more, to be happy more, to care about myself more. So, yeah.
Well, I think you and anyone is important enough to share their story. And I think that's both of our goals on this show as well, to highlight people's stories. So before we go on to have guests on our show where they will share their humanly experiences, David and I would like to share our humanly experiences. And I know you're working on, being more authentic with your humanly experience. And I appreciate that. And I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, just sharing my human experience had me physically shaking. I'm finally calm now, but I was literally about to ask you to pause because I couldn't stop shaking.
Yeah.
It's hard to be authentic and share those things with people, but every time you speak your story out loud, you heal. With each time you share your story, you heal more and more.
Yeah.
um, as we know, healing is a forever journey. It's never going to go away, as we mentioned during episode 1. So you constantly have to work on it. And I say, don't be afraid to share what you've been through, because that's exactly, I felt alone when I went through what I went through. And I felt like the universe was shitting on me. I felt like God hated me. And then I started to listen to other people's stories, and I started to realize everyone goes through it. And I love people's stories, which because I tell you all the time.
Yeah.
I really love different stories, and there's so many different ways that people have experienced trauma, and my form of trauma is not the only trauma that exists. So I love that. And I'm super excited to have people come on and share their stories with us too. And just know that every single time someone shares their story, they're being so brave. So appreciate those who share their journey with you, because they're just trying to heal, and they're just trying to feel connected to someone else. So we have to honor each other a lot more than we tend to do.
Yeah, I completely agree, because some people's stories are so traumatic to them that they're not ready to talk about. And what I learned, like especially through trauma and PTSD, I actually did like an internship at a PTSD study, like a research study. And I learned that when it gets to the point when trauma is so great, people normalize it. And they normalize it because they think that that's just the way it is. But once you learn the truth of it all, it's like, this is not normal. You went through this, but you have to talk about it. It's scary. It's scary because of the fact that this is something that is a piece of you, because I see trauma as something that happened to you, but it's attached to you now. And you have to learn to slowly let go of it. Not that you can't forget it. It's going to be an experience that happened, but slowly let it go. Because once a traumatic event happens to you, we tend to hold it deep inside and not talk about it. but we have to bring it back out. And yes, it's going to be painful. Yes, it's going to be, you might relive all those things in your head, and you might relive those emotions that were connected to the trauma. But as soon as you're able to talk to somebody about it, it allows you to start healing and to start realizing that, yeah, I was holding in this pain for a long time. I was holding in this heartache for a long time. I was holding in this sadness for a long time. And now it's time for me to say, okay, I need to let it go so I can love myself more. I see it, and I talked about it in my coaching video, that I see it as like a transference of energies, like the negative energy that you've been holding in, letting it go, so positive energy that could flow in. So like, what's positive energy? Love, peace, happiness. It at least gives you ability to get closer to what you're looking for, rather than you just allowing yourself to be consumed by the sadness, the fear, the pain, and the hurt. So
Yes, exactly. And back to your story, in my personal opinion, I feel like that is the way you processed your trauma. Obviously, losing your loved ones was traumatic for you,
yeah,
and the way you processed it was, let me help other people feel better because that'll maybe make me feel better.
yeah,
But ultimately, maybe other people did feel better, but you never did.
yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. It's like you're hoping something. It's like you're doing something so much that you think you're gonna have a different result from it. It's like, well, that's the definition of insanity, right? So it's like I was making myself insane, thinking that I need to help as much people as possible because maybe that'll make me happy. And I think it was like a temporary happiness. Like you'll get like the temporary satisfaction, like, oh yeah, I helped somebody, but then it go away, and you're still to yourself. And it was funny because my coach, I would, and it was like the first time I actually was honest about that situation, where it's like kind of like you think a lot of good things are going to happen to you, but then you always have the little voice in your head saying that, oh, this is not going to last. So I had that voice in my head, and then I didn't know what that voice was, and I think we named it something. I don't know what it was because it's gone now. I don't have it anymore, but it was kind of like that feeling, because I don't think I told a couple people, but I've told a couple people, because like my mom died when I was 10. And then my older brother died when I was 15. So I thought somebody was gonna die at 20, but I really thought that I was gonna die at 20, because I thought every 5 years someone's gonna die or I was gonna die. And I was okay with that. And when I was told the coach about that, he was just like, well, how old are you now? And at that time I was like 27, 28. It's like, so you surpassed that. So that thought in your head was just trying to bring you back into the traumatic state. Whereas if you let that idea free and let it go, and it can do no harm to you anymore, because that's not where you are anymore. You're past that time frame. So you knowing that you passed that time frame shows you that it wasn't as real as you thought it was. So yeah.
One of the authors that I really love, Jen Pasteloff, she wrote an amazing book called On Being Human, which I recommend everyone to read, including you. She calls that voice in your head that feeds you that negativity your inner asshole. So I love that, because we all have our inner asshole. Like, I always wanted to have this podcast, but my inner asshole said, what you have to say isn't that important, or you're too socially anxious, or whatever it may be. And so yeah, I think that's the voice that your therapist was maybe referring to. We have those two voices, the one that is more logical, and then the one that's mean to us. And I try to tell my friends a lot of the time when they're going through things to try to talk to that mean voice in their mind, because realizing that there's two different voices helped me to shut the other one up. It still speaks every single day, but there's still the other side of me that tells that voice to shut up. Basically, you
Yeah.
have to argue with that other voice, because you can't let that negative voice be the main voice inside of your mind.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And just to clarify, it was a coach, not therapist. I want to separate.
Oh, my bad.
I want to make sure. And shout out to all the therapists. As I said, I went to grad school for to be a therapist and a counselor, but I chose a different path. But shout out to our therapists. But same as you said, if you need help, get you a therapist. If you need help, get you a counselor. If you need help, get you a coach. If you need help, get to a psychiatrist. Whatever you need to do to get help, get help. And I think that's the biggest thing, because sometimes, as you said, that voice, that negative voice might be screaming at you. You know, sometimes it's a whisper, but sometimes it might be screaming. So I think that's the biggest thing. So if it gets to the point where it's screaming at you, all those negative thoughts, get help, because it could easily lead to depression. It could easily lead for you to, not feel wanted and not feel loved. And it can make you start acting in ways that are not of you and does harm to you. So yeah.
Right. And I think that voice that you hear in your head, at least in my experience when I was feeling suicidal, it's not like your brain says, I want to kill myself and that's it. Your brain says other things like, nobody loves me. I don't belong here. I don't make a change in this world. I don't matter. No one even
Yeah.
knows I exist.
Yeah.
Those are the negative things that you're hearing in your mind. So it's not necessarily just, I want to off myself, end of story.
Yeah.
So I think important that people are aware of that. Be mindful of what your mind is saying to you. And I know we all read this on Instagram all the time, but you are your own best friend. Your voice is the one that you hear most above all other voices. So make sure that it's a kind voice. Always be kind to yourself. If you catch yourself saying stuff to yourself in your mind, you need to be the one to stop it, because I think what people need to realize is no one's coming to rescue you.
Yeah.
No one's coming to save you. No one is coming to change your life for you. So no knight in shining armor is going to show up and change all of this for you. You might think that getting into a relationship that you've always wanted to be in will change your life or rescue you from this. But once you come down from that euphoric high of starting a new relationship, you're going to be faced with yourself once again. So you need to find the strength within you to save yourself and find yourself and learn how to love yourself. But yeah, I also wanted to speak on people pleasing as well, because I can relate to that with you so much. I'm a people pleaser, and that's exactly why I was like working on setting my boundaries this week, because when you are a people pleaser, you don't set boundaries with people. You just do whatever you need to do to appease those around you, and in turn you're abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
And as a people pleaser, I have abandoned myself many times in my life, in many relationships, friendships, relationships with my parents, and romantic relationships. I've abandoned myself over and over again, and I'm just hoping that the person will love me more. They'll spend more time with me, or whatever the case may be. I'm just hoping that they will return the love that I'm giving them, and they don't. They don't.
Yeah.
And givers need to set limits, because takers never have any.
Yeah.
They will take and take and take and take and take from you. And the more they realize that you're a people pleaser, the more they will continue to take. And
Yeah.
I think that as people pleasers and healers and sensitive people, we need to stop giving people the benefit of the doubt. People do not always have good intentions for you, and they mean exactly how they treat you. They mean it. Don't try to interpret it any other way. Don't try to give someone the benefit of the doubt and try to tell yourself, oh, they didn't mean to be so mean to me. Like, no, they did. You need to start telling yourself, be honest with yourself about who someone is in your life. If they make you feel bad, they mean it.
Yeah. I completely agree with all of that, because as I said, I had to learn that not everybody has good intentions. And there are people that, just like you might feed on helping people, but there are people that feed off using people. Like they're okay with using people because they get something out of it. And I think that's the biggest thing about relationships as a whole, is that never step into a relationship thinking that someone's going to save you, or never step into a relationship thinking that someone's going to complete you. No one completes anybody else. You complete yourself. So you have to step into the relationship healing and growing. Not to say that you have to be perfect, but you have to be healing and growing and knowing who you are as a person before you step into a relationship, because your relationship is not your identity. Your relationship is something that you're collaborating with for love. for happiness, to enhance your happiness, to enhance your love, to build and grow as one person. But you are an individual before you step into a relationship, and you're an individual while you're in a relationship. It's just that you guys are now coming together to become one, but we all think differently. You and your significant other is going to think differently. You and your significant other is going to love differently. You and your significant other is going to believe things differently, and that's okay. But as long as you guys have an understanding within the relationship, then that's the beautiful part. I think that's the problem with like how people see relationships, and that's why you see so many people single, is that because they think that because they're broken, they go into a relationship and they're automatically going to be healed. And that's the wrong idea for a relationship, because it hurts the idea of relationships, because you're just going to be hurt while you're in a relationship. And then you end that relationship, you're like, well, relationships don't work because every time I say relationship, I get hurt. No, you've been hurt before the relationship. You just didn't take the time to heal yourself. And now you're just spreading your hurt around in the relationship. Take the time to love yourself more, do things that allow yourself to be happy, do things to create that understanding of who you are as a person and your identity, then step into a relationship. So I think that's the biggest thing about it.
That's right. And also on that note, I just want to lighten things up because I'm sad now. Um, we
Oh,
got about 40 minutes left on the show, so I just want to lighten things up for our listeners as well as for each other. I know you got something to do very soon here, so I want you to be in good spirits, and same for me.
yeah.
My kids are coming back home this evening, so I'm super happy.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
but since this is like a get to know us episode, I just want to throw around a little bit of fun facts. But before I get to that, I just wanted to say that we did get a lot of feedback about episode 1. And me and David were talking to each other the whole day, listening to the feedback, sending each other screenshots of the text messages you guys sent us. And I was so happy that day. How about you?
Oh yeah, I was definitely excited because of the fact that we it was an idea that we just talked about on the phone and through Zoom casually, and a couple months later we had a full-fledged introduction and episode. We got
Yeah.
mics, we set up the schedules, we got our own website for the podcast. We're now on like 15 bazillion podcast channels, and we made it happen. And then I guess the cherry on top is that people loved it. People actually
Yeah.
loved it. And I was like, oh, so this podcast thing is great. We are actually doing something powerful. And it was beautiful because not only were people listening to it, they got something out of it. And I've had like, and just like you, had so many people, oh, I want to jump on the podcast too. I want to join the podcast. I have something I want to say. And I'm like, well, we welcome it. You guys come on and let's talk about it. And it's great that we saw people loving the podcast, having ideas about the podcast, and they want to continue to listen to the podcast. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think the social media topic was very controversial. So we had a lot of people texting us and saying all types of different things. So I did want to let our listeners know that we won't always have another episode regarding a topic. And I know that a lot of the stuff we talk about is highly controversial because relationships are subjective. We are considering doing another social media episode, but if you ever hear anything that you don't agree with and you want to send in your rebuttal, please feel free to do that. You can DM the With Heart and Soul Instagram, and we can like incorporate a segment on the show where we read the DMs that we received regarding the previous topic. So we are more than happy to do that, but of course we are welcoming any guests. But like I said, every topic we discuss is going to be controversial, and we can't always make another episode regarding the same topic. So yeah, please go visit our Instagram and let us know what those rebuttals are, and we'll be more than happy to share them. So yeah, David.
Yes.
What's your favorite color?
What's my favorite color? My favorite color is a unique color. It's called turquoise. It's like I consider it more bluish green. People are gonna fight me. That's fine. But I like turquoise because I like the combination of the bluish green. Like it's a little bit more blue, but the green makes it pop a little bit. I'm into colors. I love colors. So I like bright colors. My wife gets on me all the time. She's like, why you always like to wear these bright colors? And I was like, I like to feel warm. I feel like colors are warm. So what about you? What's your favorite color?
That's a lovely answer. Wait, before I tell you, is that the color behind you? Is that like your turquoise
Yes,
color?
yes,
Okay.
yes, it is.
But yeah, I love that you love colors, and I wanted to tell you last time, I think you dress very well because you were like going on about your fashion and everything like that. I like the way you dress.
Thank
I'm super into fashion, but yeah, my favorite color is pink, and not just any pink, baby pink. It makes me so happy, but everything is pink. Like I got my phone and it's pink, and it has like the pink case. I have my pink water bottle.
you. Hmm.
Pink just makes me happy, and I try to find like the little things in life that will make me smile throughout the day.
Yes.
So if that involves having a pink phone and a pink water bottle, then so be it.
Exactly. I mean, do what you love. I think that's the biggest thing. Like we gotta let our audience know, like, do what you love. Don't be scared to do something that makes you happy. My rule, and I tell everybody that I talk to, is like my biggest rule is that do what makes you happy as long as you're not hurting anybody. But
That's right.
whatever falls within those lines, have fun with it. Enjoy life. You only have one life to live. Have fun. So if you want to wear pink, wear pink. If you want to wear turquoise, wear turquoise. As long as it makes you happy, keep doing it.
Yep, let people live.
Yes.
So another question, what is your favorite holiday?
Ooh, favorite holiday. Now I'm gonna say it's gonna be Labor Day. The only reason why I say Labor Day is because it's usually the day after my birthday. So my birthday is August 31st. Shout out to the Virgos. My birthday is August 31st. And usually, like, because I'm a working adult, whenever it's my birthday, I'll usually get like a day off afterwards because it's Labor Day. So I usually like the extended breaks. But I would say the second one probably be Christmas. I like giving people gifts, and I also like to. I'm not the huge. I had to learn to accept the gifts from people. So I accept the gifts. So I'm starting to appreciate gifts. But I'll say Christmas is my strong second, but Labor Day is my first. What about yours?
Good. You be getting ahead of yourself because I was gonna ask you your birthday next, but fine. Uh, my birthday is on January 12th, so it's kind of soon. And my favorite season, as I discussed, not season, what am I saying? Holiday, as I discussed in episode one, is Christmas.
Mhm.
Uh, and the reason for that is because growing up, Christmas was always made into a really big thing, and it was a time where I saw a lot of the people that I enjoyed seeing, and it was just always like a super happy time. And it honestly never had anything to do with gifts, and I just enjoy the magic of Christmas. And just as I mentioned about pink and me bringing it around me to make me happy, it's the same thing for Christmas. It's one of those things in life where I can look forward to it, and it's something to be happy about. And so be it if people think Christmas is stupid. Let people live. That's all I got to say about that.
Man,
I enjoy the magic of it. I enjoy the decorations and the music and everything like that. So if that helps me find a purpose and a reason for happiness, then that's what I'm into.
yeah, I love that. I love the Christmas season because it gives you like it has like the vibe, like it has such like a joyous vibe. And I know not everybody sees Christmas the same way, but at least for me growing up, just the vibe of the cheerful, the giving,
Yeah.
the happiness, like the songs, as you said. So yeah, I love Christmas. Christmas is beautiful.
Yeah, it makes me so happy just even hearing about it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what else? It could be a fun fact for us. David, how long have you been with your wife, and how long have you been married?
Ooh, I've been with my wife since 2016. So we made it official November 4th. November 4th. So it's gonna be 5 years. So it'll be 5 years. And we've been married for our marriage is kind of funny because we had to do a little small ceremony because of COVID. And we had to reschedule our marriage ceremony, our celebration ceremony over and over again. So, but we've been married since April of 2020. Um, and so it's been like a year, about to be 2 years coming up in next April. So, yeah. What about you? How long have you been in your relationship?
Wait, one more question. And then after I answer that question, we have to wrap it up,
Yes.
unfortunately. Um, what is your wife's name?
Sierra. So it's Sierra with an S. It's not Sierra like the singer. So
That's a really pretty name. I actually had to ask Jacky what your wife's name is because I was like, all he says is my wife. What's her freaking name? And then he told me Sierra, but I wanted you to tell our listeners too. But that's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
And you have a very pretty wife. I've seen her on Instagram.
Well,
So yeah.
I'll let her know.
So yeah, Jacky and I have been together for 3 years. This August, we just made 3 years. I proposed to her after us being together for 1 year, I believe. It was April 22nd during the pandemic. And then she proposed back to me April of this year. So we've been engaged for, I don't know math, like 1 year, a year and a half about.
Yeah,
And
somewhere around
we
there.
was, yeah. And we would like to have a wedding next year around this time, like October 2022.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful. The colors are going to be amazing.
yes, yes. In honor of fall, that's what we want to do.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, guys, we're gonna wrap up this episode, and we want to thank you guys so much for listening. Buzzsprout did let us know that we had 25 downloads, so that was a little celebration for us.
Yes.
And we put that on the Instagram story when we saw that come through. So we appreciate it so much, and we also welcome any criticism because I did receive very little amounts of criticism, maybe like 3 different things, but for the most part, everybody was just being really nice to us. So if you could just please let us know what we can do better. And as always, head over to our Instagram. Let us know if there's any other topics that you want us to cover. And our DMs are always open to you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all our videos and all our podcasts are gonna be released on Thursday, so be ready for that. Like, subscribe, tell your friends and your family to listen to us, like, subscribe, and yeah, until next time, we will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week.